Yeah! Here we go. Awesome. I'm excited to be here today with Megan Leigh. So Megan is one of my favorite human beings. She's on our team. She helps to coordinate all of our awesome events at Modern Musician. And she's also really like a living embodiment of a modern musician. And so I'm really excited to have her on the podcast today to share a little bit about her story and her music and sort of what she's taken from her journey in terms of being a musician, a modern musician, how all of us as artists can really be able to build a successful career in a sustainable way. So Megan, thank you for being here today.
Thanks, Michael. I'm so excited to be here.
Oh, yeah. So to kick things off, maybe you could do a quick introduction of yourself and share a little bit about your story and how you found your way onto the Modern Musician team.
Awesome. Yeah, I'd love to. So I'm Megan. I hail from Western Maryland and I grew up here. I grew up singing. I always say that I sang before I even spoke, which I think is true. And so I've kind of always been a musician at heart. Yeah, I got into, so singing's not new to me, but gigging and recording music and kind of doing the whole touring thing is rather new. I started that about 2018, 2019. So that's been a really, really cool journey. I first started with Modern Musician in 2020, did an internship actually. I was working with like partnerships, and at that point my music career was kind of just starting out. So, and of course, 2020 pandemic year. So it was
great year for live shows.
yeah, super great. that was actually the year that I released my first song, my first solo single. So yeah, I had a chance to kind of dive into the recording part before all that happened, which was really nice. But yeah, so, and then this go around with Modern Musician, I'm coming up on 2 years actually, which is kind of crazy. And, I love being the event coordinator and doing some human resource stuff behind the scenes. And our team is absolutely amazing. And, there's all sorts of growth and change, and I'm here for all of it. Yeah, so I actually just released a new single. I think I have 12 songs now. Yes, 12.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
It's kind of, I don't do it enough, and I would encourage everyone to kind of go back and, at least yearly, but maybe quarterly or monthly, just really reflect on how much you've actually done, because it's a lot more than it usually feels like just day to day. So yeah, so that's kind of me so far.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, I mean, it is such a important habit to get into, is sort of reflecting and appreciating, the things that have happened. It's very easy to, especially in our culture nowadays, to always want more and kind of be thinking about what's next, which is awesome, and growth is great. But if we always live in that state and we never appreciate where we're at, where we came from, then it's kind of like a endless rabbit race that you're running on, and it's you kind of miss the whole point of life.
Absolutely.
So maybe you can share a little bit more about when you were in that phase, when you were kind of transitioning from, music has been a part of your life and DNA for a long time. And then, it was about 2018, you mentioned that you really started to be like, you know what, I actually want to take this music and I want to, focus more on it and I want to do more with it.
Yes.
Maybe you can share a little bit about like what really kind of pushed you over the edge to make that decision, or why did you decide to go all in on your music? And maybe what were some of the initial biggest challenges that you faced when you first started with that?
For sure. So really, it started with me putting myself out there, really. So I started getting into the local music scenes here. So I'm in a really central spot to Washington, D.C. and Baltimore, Maryland, and also Northern Virginia. So the DMV as a whole, which has a really super thriving music scene, local music scene. So I just kind of decided that, I've always been a concert goer. I love going to see live music, but up till that point, it had been more like bigger acts coming through, more mainstream. And yeah, something kind of sparked in me. I found some local artists on Instagram, including Eli Lev. And so I connected with people. I just started putting myself out there and going to their shows and network. And that's really what inspired me to do it, because I was watching all these amazing musicians do it on their own, DIY and indie, and they were making it happen. And so I was inspired. I was able to, because I have a very strong choral background. So
Or
that
coral
served
reefs,
me.
right?
Yeah, yes. Choral, yes. Yeah, the ocean
Great
coral.
Barrier Reef, like lived there in
Yeah.
my eighth
Yeah.
grade.
Yeah, all of those. So it served me really well that I could kind of jump in and do harmony vocals, and that was my big strength that I was able to offer to a lot of bands who were performing live, and ended up recording with a lot of people too, doing BGVs and harmonies. So yeah, that was really what did it for me. I just immersed myself basically
Mm,
into the
mm,
scenes rather, and it I opened myself up to it, and it kind of just came flooding in, which I've
mm,
found more and more is what happens if you are willing to open yourself up
mm,
to new things. So yeah, so that was around 2018. I started singing with Eli. I started singing with my friend Karen. I was doing backup and harmonies for a party rock band in Baltimore for a while. So it just kind of became, I was working a full time job, and it became too much for me because I was doing so many shows. And so it was like, okay, time to move to part time. So I switched to a part time job, and then eventually it just became the music, and it became very clear that that was the path. So I was really lucky and super grateful, still always, that I was willing to take that leap. So
mm. That's
yeah,
awesome. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And
yeah,
it's interesting, the DC area. I know there's quite a few of our like team members and clients and
hmm
community that have come directly from that heart of
yes,
that music scene. So, and I know Luke, Justin Roberts were from there. You and
hmm
Eli. I know we have several clients who are in that scene.
yeah. Brendan Lane. We had
Oh,
had we've had a bunch of alumni for sure.
hmm, super
Yeah.
cool. It
hmm
makes me think that there's probably like if we can do that in a bunch of places, right? If we could like create
Yeah.
like that local scene, it'd be a lot of fun to build that around the whole country. And then when we're traveling, we're going on tour together, like we could all
Mm.
interconnect and play shows together. Yeah.
Yeah, that's for sure the dream. Yes.
Yeah. We should make that happen. We have the
We
ability to do that for sure. And
yes,
I mean, we definitely are making that happen this
we
year
are.
with the program now with the direct integration with Street Team. Now we have like the ability to, it's going to be month 3 now that after we've launched the core system, now it's about building that network and collaborating with other artists in the community. So there's going to be a lot more networking, collaboration, and what you just shared in terms
Mhm.
of your story and connecting with the local music scene being such an important part of your journey. I can imagine that's going to be a total game changer. You have to be able to plug into that network.
That's insanely exciting. Like,
Hmm.
it's never been so easy to do that. And it's still a big deal. It's still very challenging. I think you asked me about the biggest challenges that I had. And I would say the biggest one was just starting. It's
Hmm.
we as musicians, we probably all of us at some point struggle with imposter syndrome, and it's like, how, what do I who am I to like to do this? Do I deserve to have this kind of, life?
Hmm.
And yes, you do. That's the answer. That's always the answer. But
Hmm.
it's hard to convince yourself of that sometimes. So
Hmm.
I think, and we have to do that over and over as our lives change and the music changes and things get hard sometimes, and but it's always worth it. So, and especially now that we have all of those tools to use. to network and to connect with people all over the country and other countries.
Hmm. That's so powerful. I mean, what you're just sharing around imposter syndrome and like being willing to like basically like believe in yourself and
Yeah.
to keep going early on. It seems like that's the most valuable part of that like vision map, vision tank, for me personally, is like having that vision written down, but then starting to collect all of the testimonials and screenshots and the vision board, and just
Yeah.
being able to kind of really create that and step into it and quote unquote be the change that you want to see. Yeah, I'm curious how in your own life, how have you dealt with that feeling, especially at the beginning? Because you have to be sort of audacious. You have to be sort of like,
Yeah.
when you start out, it's like you don't start out with everything being perfect. Like you start out from the beginning with nothing basically, and you have to sort of hold it in your mind and your vision that like, yeah, like if I keep showing up and I keep doing this, like I'm going to be at this place, but I'm not there yet. But you kind of have to like live as if like you have to be on the right track to get to that place. So I'm curious
Mhm.
for you, what are some of the most valuable insights or lessons that kind of helped you to be able to work through those initial challenges?
Something that I always come back to is if you don't ask, you're not going to receive. So,
Hmm.
what I mean by that is people are most often, more often than not, and most often, they want to help, which
Hmm.
is a kind of a revelation in a way because most people don't ask. It's like you are trying to do this thing and you feel like you have to do it alone, but you don't.
Hmm.
And so I sought out mentors. I sought out people who were doing it, and we became friends. And I was almost always welcomed with warmth and encouragement, and that that is something I keep coming back to because that's something that continues to happen, as you grow and move forward. But even at the beginning, especially at the beginning, it's really good to just make those connections and ask people, how am I doing? What should I be doing? How did you get where you are? Just those questions, and people like to talk about it.
Hmm.
It's really cool to form that kind of bond, especially when you're just starting out. It's really powerful, and it can be super strong. So that's probably the biggest thing that I just kept doing.
Hmm.
I would reach out to people and I would say, what you're doing is incredible. You inspire me. And then, whatever connection comes from that, it was almost always super helpful and engaging and motivating for me. So,
Hmm.
for
That's so
sure.
good. Yeah, yeah. Ask, and ye shall receive.
Yep.
Yeah,
It's
there
one
is
of my
something
favorite
so
phrases.
powerful about the art of asking and learning. You also how to ask the right questions,
Yes.
right? But I think there's like there's some sort of like cosmic universal power to questions. Like when
Mm.
you make a statement, it's sort of like a closed off thing where it's like you're saying something and the statement is like it's almost never ultimately true. Like it's like a symbol or it's like it's pointing to one thing, but it's not. It's kind of like closed off. It's like contracted. Whereas a question, when you ask a question, it opens space. Like it actually invites an answer. And
Hmm.
that's so interesting to hear you share that. That was such a powerful part of your journey, was learning how to ask those questions and how it invited space to be able to be able to achieve your goals.
Absolutely. And another thing too is even when you're starting out, we already touched on this, the being able to reflect part, but even when you're starting out, you've already accomplished something. And it's always good to go back and realize that and say, well, if you're really just starting out, what did I do yesterday that brought me to today? What did I do last week that made me, gave me this opportunity that I have now, or that's leading me to something that I want. So that was something else that I probably should have done more of, honestly, and would have helped me, you know, be more confident in what I was doing. But just realizing that there's always progress.
Hmm.
And if you're feeling, everyone has those days where it's like, what am I doing? Like I feel like I haven't done anything. I feel like I am failing at this. And you're not, but it's sometimes hard to see any progress. So, but there always is some. So
Hmm.
that would be another thing for me. And just, staying centered, being grounded, because every time I'm like in my head about something or stressed out or feeling like nothing's going right, I just kind of walk outside and be like, "Oh, look at this world."
Hmm.
It's like, and I love things that make me feel small because it just brings everything back into perspective. So, I was just
Hmm.
flying from LA back to Maryland, and I had a moment where we were taking off and I could see all the lights below, and it was almost like, it was kind of weird because it was almost like they were twinkling in rhythm or something. I don't know what that was. I've never actually seen that. I've flown a lot, and I've never actually seen anything like that before. So I was like, okay, this is like, I am very small, but I'm also
Hmm.
very powerful at the same time, and it's all connected. And it's like, okay, well, that was really good for me to be feeling like that and connected to something much, much bigger. So,
Hmm.
yeah.
Man, we're just talking some like really
Yeah.
profound insights, like cosmic level stuff. Yeah, I mean, it is like so humbling just sort of recognizing like when you look out at the night sky and you look at all the stars and it's kind of hard to really fully grasp, but there are some of those moments where it's like it's not an idea, but like you actually just fully like sink into the reality of it, the fact that like the whole cosmos, like we're just such a small piece of that, and it's so big and we're a piece of that, we're interconnected with it. Really,
Yeah.
really powerful.
Yeah. I think
Mm.
it's the eclipse that has me in that kind of that kind of zone.
Yeah, the eclipse. I mean, gosh, that just like took the world by storm this last week. It was really, really interesting seeing how many of our team were like traveling and going to see it. And
Yes.
I wish that we had a little bit of a better view here in Orlando. It was cool seeing the partial eclipse, but it sounded like it was
Yeah.
pretty spectacular seeing the full total
Yep.
eclipse.
Yeah. Really, really awesome. I think we had like 91% totality in Maryland. And we were all sitting out there as family and just with our glasses on watching it. And it was just incredibly moving. And yeah, that's just one of those things that makes you feel small, which I love.
Mm, cool. So talking about music and kind of your journey, discovering your voice, discovering how to share that, and kind of overcoming the initial challenges. And I'm curious how you first discovered modern musician.
Yeah. So it was through the network, through the people that I was connecting with.
They're like,
The
watch out for this modern musician company. Those guys,
right.
their podcast sucks.
Yeah. It was like, oh, modern musician. Hmm. Yeah. So yeah, that was just another amazing thing that came from me connecting with, making that network in the local music scene. Eli was the one who connected me first. But then I started realizing how many of the DC people were actually in modern musician at the same time. And so of course I was intrigued, and that's how I got connected initially. But, I took a break and then I was drawn back because, it's awesome. And the team is awesome and you are awesome. And what we have going here is, it's revolutionary. It's not like anything anyone else is doing. And really, grateful. It's super cool to be a part of that. So that was 2020. And I think what drew me in first was, well, obviously the fact that I was doing music independently and wanted the opportunity to learn about what modern musician was teaching, but also just the fact that it was like I knew how powerful the networking had been for me just locally. So I was just really drawn in by knowing about the impact that it could have, like expanding that network, you know? And now looking back, you know, I know a ridiculous amount of musicians in all over the country, in other countries, and we even do the in-person events now, and it's like I have had opportunity after opportunity just from being part of Modern Musician. So it's definitely the right vibe that I was getting, and a great calling to follow. So I thank you for that.
Thank you. I appreciate you being a part of it. And yeah, I mean, it's something I hear this often, and I say this often, is that if I had like a superpower, it's that through no means of my own, like I just happen to attract awesome people around me, and you're definitely an example of that. And the community that we're a part of, the culture, the team members, the clients, the networking is very special, and I'm very grateful to to be able to have the opportunity to connect with you and everyone that's here live and everyone that's listening to this, wherever
Yes.
you're listening to this from. Like you're like you're like a ripple effect, and all of the impact that you make on your community and your fans is all connected to this movement that we're all a part of.
Yeah.
And certainly the in-person events, actually connecting in person at the mastermind events and performing, like the times when we've actually had like performances and everyone goes around and performs just the testament to the diversity, of
Yeah.
the artists and the music. And at the same time, it seems like there's a common thread between everyone, even though they're totally different styles and genres. Like it kind of
Yeah.
has this like uplifting, like kind of positive uh, authenticity to it. It's
Mm-hmm.
really
That's a good
cool.
word. That's a really good word for it. Yeah.
Mm. I would love to hear a little bit from your experience with the events and helping coordinate the events. What do you say is like your favorite part about the mastermind events that we run together?
That's hard because I probably have more than one favorite. I would say, in general, overall, building community and bringing people together has always been something that I really love. So it kind of was natural for me to want to do events and bring people together in that way. So I think my favorite part is watching that happen. And it happens in so many different ways. It happens musically, it happens organically and very personally for some people. It happens through business networking. You know, it's all these different dynamics working at the same time. And it's truly magical when you can see, because people will interact online for like years until they actually finally meet in person. And it is a wild feeling. And for me personally, it was so many team members that I've known, and I feel like we're friends. We're absolutely friends, and it's like you can't you can't imagine until it actually happens how exciting it is to be in a room with somebody who and make that personal connection. So that's definitely my favorite part. And then from there, seeing the collaborations that happen, people doing songs together and releasing music together, and then or working together on a launch, or there's just so much that comes out of them that I think would not be possible without that in-person connection.
Hmm.
So
Man, I just want to be at the mastermind group right now. Just have another
Yeah.
one like tomorrow. Next one's in Denver.
In Denver. Yeah.
Yeah. What are the dates for that again? Roughly, it's like
It is
June.
end of July. So July 23 through 27.
Cool.
Yeah.
Week of July 23rd. Mark it off in your calendars. You'll definitely be getting some invites if you're a part of our community. And this is for all of our gold artists. You're invited to come hang out together. And I know I see a few folks here that have been to those mastermind events, and so let us know here in the chat. If it was a valuable experience for you. But yeah, I mean, there is something magical that happens, and it happens online, but it's like being
Mhm.
in person. It really is like a mastermind. It's really like we're neurons in the same brain. And when you like bring these neurons together, then they can fire together so quickly. And you have those branches. The ideas are so fast, when you're like together, grouped up like that. I also love, being able to bring some of our most inspiring artists, together and teammates. But like Ryan Kryshak, like seeing him at dinner, connecting with newer artists and just sharing, nonchalantly strategies they've used
Yeah.
for 500 million YouTube views. And he's so like
Mhm.
so humble and just like and generous with his insights. And
Yeah.
Erica Mason, seeing her connect with people, it's really just like there's so much value that comes just from like being a part of that mastermind together. And it's been a great joy of my life, being able to connect with you and with all of our team and our clients there. So if you're listening to this right now and you're a part of our community, then I definitely encourage you to look up those dates and set them aside in your calendar so you can be there live.
Yeah. And something I thought of while you were talking about that, going back to the ask and you shall receive concept, those masterminds are like the epitome of that
Hmm.
concept to me, because when we're there, it's always a warm and encouraging environment. There's never any judgment. It's always, people sharing what works for them, the challenges that they have. And like you said, if you like, our gold artists are able to ask our platinum artists things and pick their brain, and they're super happy to share. And that is, yeah, like one of the biggest things, I think, one of the most impactful things that happens in person is just to be able to be in that presence, and it's super super inspiring.
Hmm.
So
It's interesting. Yeah. When you describe that too, like the ask and you shall receive part of it, like those hot seats, like it's
yes,
literally like designed to be like, what is your question? And then you put it
exactly.
out and the whole mastermind is like, whoosh, like flood of love and insights and creativity,
Yeah.
into you. Pretty cool.
Mhm.
Well, Megan, man, this has been a really fun conversation. I appreciate you coming on and sharing your story. And it's been great to connect a little bit more and hear about your roots and how you got started with your music, how you came into modern musician. I already knew you were a badass, but connecting with you more and hearing that definitely adds more depth to the awesomeness. So
Thanks,
for
Michael.
anyone that's here right now that would be interested in checking out your music or connecting more, what would be the best place for them to go to check it out?
So you can, I would say, look up Megan Leigh. It's MEGANLEIGH. I'm on all the platforms. And my Instagram is probably the place where I'm most active. So my handle on there is It's Me, Megan Leigh. ITSME, Megan Leigh.
It rhymes. Yay.
Yep.
Awesome. Cool. Well, let's give a virtual round of applause for Megan Leigh. Yeah!
Thanks, friends. Thanks for hanging out with